I want to welcome everyone here this evening to our Quorum Court meeting for July. We're going to move into the call to order and to the prayer and pledge. And I've asked Vaughn, what's your last name? McCombs to lead us in prayer and pledge. Anyway, so they're going to stand up. He's going to lead prayer. We're going to pledge. Okay, we're going to move on to the adoption of the agenda. Does anybody have any amendments to the agenda before we adopt it? Yeah, and then, well, yeah.
And then, yep, I
Gary,
have speaking
go ahead.
privileges.
JP Ricker, do you
Yep.
have any amendments?
I do not.
Okay. Somebody's going to have an amendment. We're going to practice this because, so they have an amendment, and so then they didn't agree. All the ayes didn't want to add something, and he'll say, I don't know if he's going to call you Miss Sabrina or Coordinator Sabrina, Coordinator Mason, whatever he's deciding to call you. I don't know if you all have had that discussion. Can you do a roll call? And so not only will you grab your sheet of paper, you're going to, on the small crest on, no, I turned it down. I thought about that. There's the large crest on and then the small one, which the small one is, you see where the meeting is. So that's the voting system. The small crest on is the voting system. So scroll and find an amendment, at the bottom. No, you'll just, you got to use your finger. Just click on like the first amend one. Yeah. This is what's nerve-wracking, just saying. Yeah. Yeah, set active. That's why we're practicing, because you're not going to have time to look at notes. And then, so once you set active, you have to hit presentation on the large crest on. And then you will start vote, the small crest on. And all those pictures of the notes that I have there, there's all the pictures. You set that one active, and then you start. I did. It just says amend, postpone, adjourn. So amend would be right. I think it's like that selected. Yeah. And so then you have to decide whether it's a majority vote, third vote, whatever. You do majority vote, start vote, and then presentation is on.
Says, yay,
So click it to the, so right now you have the agenda up on the screen. So for people to be able to keep track of the voting, you gotta click over onto the small remote thing. Yeah. So now we've gotta get everybody to vote.
jump going through on this end if you want to start on here.
Brian's not a voter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I know his thing.
Marks him.
Yeah. Okay, once everybody has voted, and you see all the tabs are lit up, because if somebody hasn't voted, you have to say, JP Washington, can you push a button, or whatever?
Oh, I can't go back, but yeah.
No, okay, JP Washington, can you push a button, okay, and then you'll hit stop vote, and then you'll get the results. And the preliminary motions are always, usually Dean says, I make a preliminary motion that we read all the titles and ordinance, or read all the resolutions and ordinance by title only. And then they agree because nobody wants to hear the whole ordinance. Okay, so just make sure you put it back on the agenda now. But don't close it out. Yep. I just click from the little icon to the Google icon back and forth. Just, yeah. And then you do have to minimize, but then, yeah. Okay, so now we're citizens' comments. You write down each person's name, but you can, whatever.
John Smith commenting about XYZ, unhappy.
Unhappy. Okay, and then approval of minutes. And I always write next to on my agenda, if they do a voice vote and it passes, I put VV on it because you have to record in your minutes whether it was passed with a voice vote or a roll call vote whenever you do. Voice vote is, he says.
No, I know, but why sometimes is it voice and why is it roll call?
Like, for example, if it's an adoption of the agenda, the judge just says, all in favor, aye. Okay. Ayes have it, agenda's adopted. And there's not an ordinance. Yeah. And so I just always write it was passed with the voice vote, blah, blah, blah. So maybe he'll go slower. Maybe he'll think about it. Maybe he'll go a little slower. I don't know. Okay, so if you'll go ahead and pull up the item 8, we'll move into item 8. Yeah, so first you're going to stay on the agenda. I get it ready on the Creston, but you're going to pull up the ordinance on item 8. Yeah, that's why I use those. And yeah, I'll keep going. Item 8 is right there. Go back up. Yep, right there. Item 8 is under our unfinished business for the update on the vacation policy. And I leave it on the agenda while everybody's chit-chatting about it, and they'll have whoever talks about it, blah, blah, blah. And then whenever he says, okay, it's time to take the, how does he word it? You've probably listened to enough meetings, but time to take the item up or whatever. And then if people say, question, I call the question or whatever, write that down and write the JP, because then, so when you go to Robert's Rules and look through the cheat notes or whatever, calling the question is just that, I'm done talking about it, we're not talking about it anymore. Calling the question makes them take it to a vote. Oh, okay. Yeah, a point of order, which will happen a lot between a couple of them. A point of order is that the topic that you are now discussing does not have any relevance to what is the ordinance is talking about. Yeah, because sometimes people get on a tangent and they're bringing in other things that aren't relevant to what the exact ordinance is. So sometimes people will call point of order. Yeah, and the only reason we're practicing on this side of it because it wouldn't show the voting if we're not doing it. Yeah.
You guys can say as
Okay.
long as you need doing that, let me know. Ask me if there's anything that comes up, but I will be in that meeting with Brandon. So,
Okay.
But yeah, whenever you're done,
Just hit the stop stream.
you'll run it through. Yeah, you'll get a text from when the meeting itself is obviously done. You're gonna press the red button. Big
Okay.
red button. It's easy enough on that.
Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, thanks, Vaughn. Appreciate you. Okay, so say they're going to vote now, so go to your little icon, I'm going to call it the computer icon. the voting system, yeah. And so on your, on the small crescent, you can't use your mouse, I know.
Okay, so right now it's got the, 8.1 on there.
So set it
Closed
active,
or set active?
set active. If you close it, then you don't get to vote on it.
Okay,
It closes it.
and now I need to go to vote, is that right?
Yes, choose whether it's, and it's gonna be majority because it's non-money.
Then click on vote 1, 2, or 3, it doesn't matter, or?
I don't know what one, two.
Vote 1, vote 2, vote 3, then you set.
Oh, those, no. You have to go to 8.1.
Oh, I was on that, I thought you looked it up.
No, you have to go to the ordinance that you're voting on.
So I accidentally hit something and it's on 11.7. Do I hit close? It's like I pulled up to vote on that 11.7. I've been nervous.
You're gonna set it active. And then now you gotta do the other 3 bars. Nope,
That's
not that one. That one. And now it's gonna be majority vote because it's not that right. Start vote. Yep, presentation. And that's why I stop, share. So sharing is presentation, so it's sharing on the screen.
okay.
So let me run through and. Okay, now everybody's voted, and then you hit stop vote. Up here. And then stop. Gives votes done, and you give it just a moment for everybody to be able to see what's there,
Okay.
and then you hit default, because you don't wanna leave it on the that very long. And then now, how in the world did you start it? Here. And so then you'll close that. Yeah. And then hit your 3 big bars again. And then you can move that to your agenda again, because then you're gonna move to the next item.
So minimize, I think.
Don't ever close it, because in the middle of the meeting, you'll have to reopen the whole thing. Then they're done that, just saying, it happens. Okay.
And then go to 9.1.
We're gonna introduce 9.1. And then whoever the JP is that is sponsoring it usually talks. And then, this is the county planning, so it's gonna be, so say they're done talking about it, which who knows what they'll do with this one.
So Sam called yesterday and asked if you were gonna be at the meeting with me and, told me to ask you if he needed to send me stuff to you for the meeting. I'm assuming it's over the things that we added. But I don't
Yeah, I didn't,
really understand.
yeah.
Because yesterday I knew if he needed to.
Yeah, I didn't include, we didn't include that in the agenda packet.
It's on there, but it's presentation stuff. If he does a presentation.
I don't see why he would, the only time he does a presentation if there's an appeal.
So I wonder what he's talking about then.
Sometimes they will have him talk about the ordinance with the CUP or whatever, but I'll have to look and see what's on the agenda again. I didn't go back and through it.
The
Oh,
only thing that's on, I added those, 9, 10, 11.
did you add anything from him that talked about the applications? Okay, I totally forgot about that. That should have been added.
And that's probably because it's all last minute.
Well, he still should have sent that the next morning after the planning meeting. Yeah, so anyway. Yeah. So, okay, so we're gonna vote on this, so,
Set active,
yep, set active.
and I need to minimize that, or
Go to the voting screen. Set active, and then you gotta choose, and so since there's no money, it's gonna be majority vote.
okay. It's on active, and
And then the smaller three buttons is whether you,
how do I get, so it says an ordinance repealing ordinances, and
Yeah.
there's close and clear active.
you gotta set active.
I already said active, how do I get out of this?
Do the small three bars.
I can't, stop that screen. No, you said not to close, but you didn't let it. Well, I guess you just want to hit close, but when you're on that, it says highlighted at the very bottom. Majority, start the vote. And then hit presentation. For all this. And then everybody's gonna vote.
And, oh yeah, go ahead and roll call. You're, just like you're gonna start with Chandra Washington.
Yes, so what do I push on here to do that?
Your mic is the red button, or the little person, it's the far right button.
And then just call the names.
Yep.
Okay. Chandra Washington, Beth Koger, Robert Dennis, Suki Hires, Evelyn Rios Stafford, Willie Lemming, Gary Ricker, Butch Pond, Coleman Taylor, David Wilson, Sean Simons, Kyle Lyons, Lisa Ecke, Charles Dean. And then turn it off.
Right away, because John said, I can hear when you even whisper. Okay, so look at the votes, and if anybody hasn't voted, make sure and say, and you can say JP Washington or whoever can vote.
So, yeah, back one.
Yeah.
JP Washington, can you vote? Or push the button or something?
And then, so that everybody's voted, now hit your stop the vote button.
Probably on that one.
Okay. And then you, like, whenever it's up there and it says not passed, I wait for the judge to say pass or not pass.
He does all that.
Yeah. And then I give it just a second so people can see what the vote results were, but then I press that button back to default on the big one. Oh yeah, and then go, you gotta,
So it said,
then you,
start screen. When I hit default, it says start screen in green, and then when I hit default again, it does that.
yeah, it's still doing okay. I don't know, it has done funky things before. Okay, and then, yeah, because this is still up on the screen. And I have called roll call vote and forgot to put the voting system on here. So it happens.
Oh, guaranteed it will happen.
And then,
Close.
yeah. And then let's just go through the next item. So, let's,
Okay, so I've got
let's move to,
bars,
huh?
3 bars on the voting thing. So right now it says 17 Judge Patrick Eaton.
Yes, so now go to the 3 big bars. And then you can set next active.
How come it's going straight to,
Okay, and then, so scroll to number 10 on your agenda.
Like the first thing?
Yeah, so is this the consent agenda, or is it number 11?
This is the consent agenda.
Okay,
No, wait,
S-
it's not in here. 11 is the consent agenda, 10 is right before it.
okay, so let's just say we're gonna skip over 10 and we're gonna go to number 11 now. So just get number 11, just the one that says consent agenda right now.
And hit set active.
Yeah. And so Brian has to read every ordinance, okay? And so he's gonna be reading through the ordinances. You're gonna get consent agenda pulled up. You can go ahead, like, if you want to, you can scroll through each one, like 11.1, like he's gonna read an ordinance anticipating, blah, 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 and the rural community, blah, blah, blah. Ordinance 11.2, and, appropriating the funds for blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so as he reads each one of those, you can scroll them there, but if you're not comfortable scrolling there, people have gotten an agenda in the audience, or whatever, or you can do it to the top part of the agenda and not go through each individual ordinance, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I feel overwhelmed, I don't scroll through all those. Like, there's times that I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna put it up here, and I put it to where the agenda says 11.1, 11.2, 11. So, and there's times, that I've felt overwhelmed, and there's times that I've just stayed on the voting side, and I've just set 11.1 active, and it's just sitting up there on the screen. So there's times when I can't mentally get there with everybody else, and I've just set it for 11.1 and just let it sit there. But let's say we're gonna do the consent agenda now, so you have that on the voting system for 11.
Yes.
Okay, so switch to it. You can either go up to the very top to the agenda. Yeah, and then just set it right there, and I kind of scroll, like maybe I'll move it where you can see all the ones that he's reading, like there. And while he's reading those, I go ahead and have set active, or whatever on the voting side. But you can't hit start vote because it lights everybody's things up, and then what if they decide to amend it or blah, 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 or whatever. So you can't vote on it until they're ready to vote on it. And so anyway, so let's say they're ready and they kept everything together in the packet. You're not going to have to go through each individual thing. You're good. So consent agenda, and then go ahead and do the voting.
So is that the small three bars?
Yes.
Majority?
Yeah. You can do majority. Yes. And then get it to your screen. Yep. And then hit your presentation or share. And so then that goes on YouTube. That's where everybody can see how they vote. So it's easier to go around on the front, so lean over all the chairs. I keep voting for Brian, but he really doesn't vote. Okay, and then hit, make sure everybody's voted, and then hit stop vote. Okay, and then give it a moment. It says it passed, but you wait for the judge to say, item 11.1 pass, blah, 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 going forward. And then he'll say, on to 12.1.
So I can keep all.
Yep.
And all the different stuff.
I know a lot. It is. So now you're at 12.1. So see, this meeting could actually go pretty good,
Yeah.
so then you gotta, however the quickest way, like to the right or to the left, is, just remember that this is what people are seeing you do.
Yes.
whenever you're moving around there, people can see your screen. Now, you can't see it on the YouTube channel, but they can see what's in here. Okay, so say I'm presenting, so you've got to open, see your Adobe down there by your Chrome on the tool. Okay, so I usually minimize that right there, like I'll download it before the meeting. And so it's sitting there, so then if he decides to do something, you have it right there and you can just open it. Okay, so now we're gonna go back and we're gonna vote. Let's look at the agenda first. And while they're finishing up talking about the agenda, you go ahead and on the small crest on, you'll be stopping that vote and going to 12.1. Hopefully they won't throw too many amendments or voting things on you. You just gotta scroll to the bottom of the screen and just take your time doing it, it's okay. So, and then you can say, the small 3. Pass this little blank colors, because we just like these people who are trying to do business out in the county, and we want county to flourish and have businesses everywhere. Okay, and so then hit stop vote. This gives everybody a minute to see that it's passed, so we're looking at it. And then hit your stop, or go back to your default. Oh, so you can hit presentation real quick. If you notice it, then people on the YouTube can see it. And then
So
go
this
back.
is for, this is YouTube, and this is the vote.
So now hit all, yeah. And then stop the vote.
Okay, I got it stopped on here.
Okay, close. I guess, so whenever, see, I'm not ever out here.
No, I know.
So it's making me, and so then I always try to move it back to the agenda. Yeah. And that's what I,
Too much crap to
this,
try to.
this is what's,
It's a lot. Like which, I'm gonna be using the mouse to try to stop this. Did you do that at first? Did you ever?
I don't know, sometimes I ran on autopilot because I would just block. Like, I couldn't even tell you what they talked about in the meeting because I would just get this tunnel vision for a while. And this was the first couple of meetings. And I didn't have,
Oh,
that's why I was like, I don't want you to feel the way I felt trying to do the voting system. Okay, so 13.1, and we can just, you just do whatever you want to do to make you feel comfortable now. Practice doing whatever. So say that there's been instances where the judge's microphone, something's wrong with it. Let's do this scenario, okay? So Gary Ricker wants to talk. The judge's finger isn't making his mic work or whatever. So do you see where it says on the small crest on? Do you see where it says,
exclusive, all requests off, that's fine.
so touch Gary Ricker's name
Okay.
where the green is, and then mic on. So sometimes I've had to help judge out. Hasn't happened in a while,
Okay.
but it's happened. One time his mic wasn't working and he was trying to shut somebody down. This is Judge Wood. He was trying to shut somebody down and I turned their mic off.
Okay.
Without him telling me to, Julie said, she said, you know, like I knew because he was he was touching the screen, he was trying,
Shut up.
And so,
Mm.
and so I did turn him off. And, he was okay with it, but Julie said to me. So, if he is trying to shut somebody off, unless he looks at you and you all like get used to each other of knowing what needs to happen, then I won't shut anybody off again. But if somebody's trying to talk and he's having trouble and he's recognized them, that's the key point. If he's recognized JP Ricker, then he's not getting a mic. Hopefully it won't ever happen. I just wanted you to be aware of how to turn it on. So if the green light's still on, he's having trouble, touch the green and then hit mic on.
Okay.
And sometimes when people leave this on, and then, so go ahead and turn it on for me.
So that says seat number 20, is that what that one's considered?
So give it permission to talk.
Okay.
So people leave and go away, and then we're going on to the next subject.
So you do,
I go ahead and turn it off because the judge isn't as loud that nobody starts talking again. Like you'll notice the difference, it's a slight difference, but when two mics are on and then people have left and they're not sitting here to present anymore, they've gone back to their desk, you can't, the judge is quieter, you can't hear him as well. Just an example. You do whatever, keep pushing buttons, make yourself feel comfortable. Like, what I do is, this is what I would do, okay? So I would take my book, and I come down here by myself on Thursday, and I know, so if we have to log in as Myra too, Quorum 15, we can do that. This is basically the pictures. Yeah, these are the pictures of the screens, how they might look. And this is the main thing. I had this here every time, and I can't tell you how many times. So I turn on crest on, that's what I'm referring to. And then click, select clerk PC, and then, yeah, select clerk PC, and then large, small, and lobby, clerk, okay. And then, which the microphones are now set on manual. And IT has set that up. Right now I don't have any, I don't remember if we have control of that, but we'll talk about that when we close this one out. Anyway, yeah, so you can either use your, you might go back in the voting system and more copy, okay, in case you practice a couple times, because once you go through the voting system, it's set up where you can't open it and go back through it.
Oh,
Once you
okay.
close the meeting,
like, I
makes
probably
this-
look in the comments.
yeah, just so you can mess with it. But what I would do when I'm coming out here by myself, like sometimes the deputies would walk in and I'd be like, practicing.
Yeah, get out.
And so I literally would go through one and I would just practice like you don't have to use this one, you know, but I would scroll through my agenda, call order 16 or whatever. Grab a badge.
No.
And then I would be like, okay, that's done, touch the agenda, and I even set it in my head, okay, and so, say they want to amend, and so this will be a scenario. They would like for item 12.1 to move before the consent agenda. So, and then you make that note in your minutes sometimes they don't vote on it, he will say, are there any corrections to the minutes? If nobody says anything, he says, okay, minutes are approved, so they don't always vote on it.
Okay,
Just say, no corrections, so minutes were adopted.
okay.
I think it's done like the next day or, that next Monday, I'll say, can you send me your judge's notes? Because he's been really good about it. And you saw how my minutes were, I just passed them. And then I would actually, so you don't get to YouTube it whenever you come down by yourself and practice. So you won't see all this